Hey there, can I tell you a secret? I have over 65 cookbooks on my shelf. Now, just some of you that will seem like a ton, and some of you it will seem like not that many, but I'm hoping that it explains why I'm feeling a little bit protective of my shelf space that's taken up by cookbooks. The problem is, I love cookbooks so much. And so when I saw that Kristin Cavallari had a new cookbook out with over 255-star reviews, it's called True Comfort, I knew that I had to find out whether this was a cookbook that you and I needed on our shelves. Hello there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy, I'm a mom and natural food chef, and every week I am showing up here with new videos to help you feed your family healthy food more often. You'll find me talking about things like feeding kids, making healthy choices, and fast recipes. And today I'm giving you a cookbook review of Kristin Cavallari's True Comfort. It is a cookbook of more than 100 cozy recipes free of gluten and refined sugar, as she says. So this is right up my alley in terms of health. But like I said in the intro, I have a lot of cookbooks, and so I've gotten pretty discerning about the cookbooks that I allow on my shelf, which is why I bought this cookbook in digital form to test out recipes and come here and let you know, is this a cookbook that would be good for us busy moms who want to feed our families healthy food more often? Let's find out. So first things first, I must admit that I'm probably not the target market for this cookbook, meaning that I am not like some diehard Kristin Cavallari fan. In fact, I actually had to look up how to say her name properly before coming on here to do this review, and I'm just hoping that I'm getting it right. I know who she is, and I've seen her on some shows, but I've never been a diehard fan, and I got the sense from some of those 5-star reviews that a lot of the folks buying this cookbook not only are diehard fans of Kristin, but also had her first cookbook and have gotten very into kind of her cooking aesthetic as a result of those things. So I am not versed in all of that, but I actually think that makes me a really good judge of whether this is a cookbook you want if you don't happen to be a diehard Kristin Cavallari fan also, which means you've probably already got the cookbook, right? In anticipation of doing this review, I went to my audience on Instagram and I asked them, what is it that you look for in a cookbook? Because I wanted to make sure that when I do this review and future cookbook reviews, that I am basing it on the standards that parents like you base their cookbook purchasing on. So there were 3 things that came through loud and clear as things you look for in cookbooks. 1 is healthy, 2 is easy and fast, and 3 is delicious. So first, let's dive into the healthy aspect of this cookbook. 93% of my respondents said they wanted a cookbook to be healthy. So I'm guessing that you feel that way too. If you're gonna take up space on your cookbook shelf, you want it to be something that's made up of food that you actually want to feed your family. So let's talk about how True Comfort measures up in the healthy aspect. I really loved kind of the core principles that True Comfort is based around. So like I said, it is gluten-free and refined sugar-free, which is amazing. I'm actually gluten-free. My kids are not, but I love feeding them wholesome, whole grain, gluten-free options whenever possible. And I love that the only sweeteners that are used in this book are mostly maple syrup, but nothing funky. There were no like processed sweeteners or even straight white sugar. And I think that is a really cool health aspect to have so that you know you could go to this cookbook and get something nutritious to feed your family. I know sometimes though that you can over-index on healthy and then you're wondering, well, will my kids actually eat it? I have to tell you, we made these carrot cake pancakes from True Comfort, and my one kid who tried them absolutely loved them, and my husband said that they were totally delicious. So those passed the test with flying colors. Other healthy standouts in this cookbook for me was that she really relied on whole grains. So even though there's no gluten, there's not a lot of weird processed junk that she's relying upon in here. For comfort food recipes, I would say that they're very low in processed ingredients, and they're also very low in dairy. So it's not a dairy-free cookbook, but she does only use goat's milk dairy in her house as far as I could tell. That's not something we do. So I modified some of the recipes like this eggplant parmesan that I made to include regular cheese, which you could easily do as well. But when I think of comfort food, I often think of like really rich, really creamy, really heavy recipes, and Kristin did not lean on those for this being a comfort food cookbook. So I was super impressed with the quality of the ingredients and the nutritional profile of most of the things that she made. All right, the next thing that 84% of respondents told me they wanted was easy and fast recipes in their cookbooks. And this is where I gotta tell you, If easy and fast is the thing that you're looking for, True Comfort may not be the cookbook for you. There were admittedly some really easy and fast recipes in here. Those carrot cake pancakes that I mentioned before were really quick. But there were some that were a lot more involved. They were delicious, but they definitely took a lot of time. I'm thinking of that eggplant parm I showed you earlier, which had a lot of steps and took 45 minutes just to cook. That was like before I did any of the steps that it took to make it. That's a really long recipe for me, and I wouldn't say it was like so mind-blowing in its result. Also, the Nashville hot chicken, which was insanely delicious and my kids thought were chicken nuggets and really enjoyed eating. It was a pretty involved recipe as well. And I don't know about you, but one of the things that I use to judge the complexity of recipes is the number of ingredients. And this Nashville hot chicken lettuce cup recipe, which was, like I said, so delicious, had 25 ingredients on the list and was listed under the lunch category. I don't know about you, but I am not usually making 25 ingredient recipes for lunch. In fact, I'm usually not making recipes for lunch at all. So that will hopefully give you some food for thought, I should say, around whether this might be the right cookbook for you. I wouldn't skip it necessarily for that reason, and there are definitely some shortcuts that you can take. But if you're looking for an off-the-shelf cookbook that's going to be easy and fast right away, this might not be the one for you. Another recipe that comes to mind that I didn't have a chance to try was the white chicken chili with salsa verde. It looked so delicious and I really wanted to try it, but this chili alone had 22 ingredients and involved making your own salsa verde. Listen, I made my own recently. I'm a huge fan of it, but as a busy mom, that is not something I undertake on a regular basis. And frankly, maybe it was just my impression, but I thought because Kristin is a celebrity and a busy mom that there would be a lot of super simple recipes in here. I would say that there are some, but it's maybe split like 50-50 between fast and simple recipes and these more complex involved recipes. So also in the easy and fast category, one thing I will mention that I really loved about what Kristin did in this cookbook is she keeps the ingredients super simple. So while there are 100 recipes, there aren't a million different ingredients that you need for this cookbook. Of course, there are specific ones for different recipes, but overall, the gluten is replaced with oat flour, the sugars are replaced with maple syrup, and the oils that are used are avocado oil, coconut oil, and I think there's a little bit of olive oil in here. So the beautiful thing about that is it doesn't mean that if you want to follow this cookbook and you're not used to making swaps yourself, that you need to go out and buy a million different ingredients. And that's something I often see in gluten-free and refined sugar-free cookbooks, that there's a lot of substitutes made to like make delicious things that you're used to. But Kristin does an excellent job of keeping those ingredients pared down and really focused so that you don't need to remake your whole entire kitchen to be able to make these recipes. Now, going back to what I said earlier, I am not like a diehard Kristin Cavallari fan. And I actually asked my sister, I said, do you think she actually cooks? And I was assured that Kristin does actually like to cook and she's often seen cooking on her shows. So I will give her the benefit of the doubt. But I feel like it's worth mentioning that she also worked with a chef on this cookbook. And in some of these recipes, it really shows that there was a chef's hand in it. I love a good chef recipe as much as anyone, but when I went to this cookbook by Kristin, that wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I was looking more for that like healthy, fast, busy mom angle, and that wasn't exactly what I got. If you like involved recipes and you're switching to a gluten-free lifestyle and you want some delicious stuff, this might be for you, but it's not going to be a regular cookbook on my shelf just for that reason. All right, the final thing that my audience said that they wanted was delicious. So 96% of respondents said they needed delicious recipes in the cookbook. And I gotta tell you, True Comfort does deliver on that front. I wouldn't say that like every single thing I made was the best thing I've ever made, but there were some super delicious highlights. I mean, I'm honestly still eating the sauce from that Nashville hot chicken that I keep talking about. And like I said, my son loved the carrot cake pancakes. I also really enjoyed practicing the technique of making scrambled eggs over 10 to 15 minutes, like on a low and slow setting, which is something I knew I should do, but I haven't often done. And these manchego chive eggs were so, so delicious. I also made the sweet potato toast, which was not super fast. You had to bake the sweet potatoes, but then it had like mashed avocado and a hard-boiled egg, and the flavors were really, really good. A couple things I'll note about the cookbook is there was a weird preponderance of dill in a lot of the recipes. So if dill isn't your thing, just note that there are quite a few recipes with dill, smoked salmon, and cashew cream. So maybe if none of those are for you, that might rule this cookbook out for you, though there are certainly lots of ways to look around this. I didn't get to making all the recipes in the cookbook as you might expect, but there were a lot of really delicious ones that caught my eye. Some of the others that I haven't mentioned yet include apple Dutch baby, pumpkin banana muffin, oatmeal bowl with warm berry sauce, burrito bowls with lime rice, chopped kale Caesar, butternut squash gnocchi, and classic pasta bolognese. It's worth mentioning that there were a couple of recipes that caught my eye just when I think of comfort food that weren't things that I would normally think of, which either makes this super creative or not in line with what you might be looking for from a comfort food cookbook. A couple of those included bison and manchego stuffed artichokes, which stuffed artichokes are actually a pretty complex thing to make. Apple butter lamb chops, creamy garlic halibut, and salad pizza with a cauliflower crust. I don't know. That's not what I would make if I was making pizza, but maybe you feel differently. It's worth noting that while there were some awesome recipes in this cookbook, if you're looking for really great go-to cookbooks that are gluten-free and that are just going to become staples in your kitchen, this just wasn't it for me. And that's okay. It might be it for you. But if you're looking for those and you think this might not be the one for you either, some of the cookbooks that I love are The Defined Dish by Alex Snodgrass and Whole Foods Cooking Every Day by Amy Chaplin. That one's actually vegetarian, but it's also super gluten-free, and it's my go-to for muffins and bread. So all in all, do you need True Comfort by Kristin Cavallari? I think I can say wholeheartedly, it really depends. For me, I'm super glad I bought this cookbook in digital form. It's something I'll probably try a few more recipes from, and every once in a while I'll remember that I have it and I'll come back to it. But it doesn't get the coveted space on my cookbook shelf, even amongst all those 65 others, because I'm just so focused on what I put on that shelf. If you feel differently and you just love the feel of a good cookbook in your hand, you're making a switch over to a gluten-free and refined sugar-free lifestyle, and you maybe have a little bit more time to cook, then this just might be the cookbook for you. I've included a link to it down below if that's something that you want to purchase. And I super appreciate you being here today. You might enjoy my other videos that are coming out every week where I help you feed your family healthy food more often. You can check those out by subscribing to my channel to make sure that you get notified when my next video comes out.